about torture. This case is about malicious prosecution, false imprisonment, wrongful conviction. The city of Chicago tried to kill me. They knew that I hadn't committed a crime from day one. See, we're talking about torture. We're talking about torture because this is the first case that the country has ruled torture, collaborating, proven. I mean, all the other cases, they haven't ruled torture.
The appellate court.
The appellate court, you know what I'm saying? So this is the first case, but they don't want to talk about the malicious prosecution, the false imprisonment, the wrong conviction, the wrong guy. They knew they had the wrong guy 30 years ago, but yet still they prosecuted me.
We discovered a memo, an internal state's attorney's memo that was made to consider whether or not they should ask for the death penalty. And in that memorandum, the state said they had a very weak case against Jim, that it was all circumstantial, that the main witness against him was also the initial suspect, yet they still decided to go ahead and prosecute and ask for the death penalty.
I'm feeling like I've been reborn. You know, I feel like I came from the dirt back to life. The city of Chicago tried to kill me. I stood by a cell door for 30 years and they couldn't break me. So I'm feeling elated. Taking it one day at a time. I'm able to build communications with my grandkids. And
it was one of the most thrilling. I would say the judge was going back and forth, but he would not say what his verdict was. He wasn't saying what he was actually gonna agree on, because he has to say that I believe by a preponderance of the evidence, 51% of the evidence, that you did not commit that crime. And he literally, it was like a movie. He talked for like 5 minutes, and I'm trying to gain an understanding of which way is he going to go. And then it sounds like he's not going to give it to him. Then it sounds like he is going to give it to him. And it sounds like he's not going to give rendering. But the judge kept on going back and forth, whether they're going to give James his innocence or not, back and forth. And finally, the judge says, "Okay, I believe that you are not guilty of this crime 29 years ago. I believe you're not guilty." And I started clapping, dude. Okay, he broke down at the table. He broke down at the table. So what that group is right there, that's an innocence group. There's two detectives. There's a Detective John Burge and there's a Detective Guevara. Google Detective John Burge and Google Detective Guevara. Those are two corrupt Chicago detectives. High-profile cases. But this man got his certificate of innocence after 29 years in prison. And he's doing his interviews right there with the different news stations, and he's surrounded by an innocence group that is a lot of these people have family members that are in prison that they're still trying to get out. James and Mark, the two gentlemen on the left there, they got out. Both of them are. Mark served 22 years in prison. James served 29 years in prison. But James just got a certificate of. Man, that was hard. This is the man of the hour right here, Mr. James Gibson. So James, what were you in there doing today? What was that legal proceeding about?
Today, legal proceeding was about me getting my certificate of innocence.
Your certificate of innocence. How much time did you spend in prison?
29 years, 4 months, and 7 days.
How many hours? How many minutes? How many seconds? James knows it to the T. And James, I mean, it was a heart-wrenching. I was on the bed. The judge was going this way. The judge was going that way. I was on the edge of my seat, and it was.
I was already giving a head up. So, but when he really said it, I was giving a head up from the states because they called me and told me that they weren't going to challenge it.
Yeah, but it would seem like there was the judge now that was kind of having
Right,
the judge wasn't. The state themselves were not trying to press the issue. They said they're backing off. They're not going to. They're going to concede the fact of the not trying to press the certificate of innocence. But it looked like the judge wanted you to convince him how you did not commit a crime 30 years ago. I don't know what I did last Wednesday. How are you going to prove that you didn't do something 30 years ago?
And see, that was the whole key right there.
How do you prove something you didn't do? You can't prove negative. It's impossible to prove a negative.
I want to say to the public, I am so proud to be an American citizen. You know, for 30 years I stood by a cell door and they couldn't break me. You know, they offered me 5 deals and I wouldn't take it. The night before they dropped the charges, they told me to give up my certificate of innocence and I wouldn't give it up.
Listen,
but today, they granted me my certificate.
The day he was in there 29 years, the day before he got out, he got a call in prison from who? The state's attorney?
From the state's attorney.
And they tried to make a deal before that to try and give up.
That was the 5th deal.
If you bypass that certificate of innocence, we'll do this X, Y, and Z for you. Oh my God, dude. So now You got to tell me. A lot of you guys would have folded, bundled, and buckled underneath that pressure. He stood by that cell door, and he did not fold. He did not bend. He did not break. James, congratulations. James Gibson, whose case is state law, the People versus James Gibson, is the first person in the appellate court to prove torture by a law enforcement agency. In Terry versus Ohio, sets precedent for the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. James Gibson set precedent for torture by a law enforcement agency. First person in the nation. James Gibson.
First case in the nation since the abolishment of slavery, 300 years. Collaborated proof.
I know. All right, James. So what are your plans now?
My plans now, man, is take my beautiful girl, you know what I'm saying? We finna go out and, celebrate a little bit, you know what I'm saying? We finna go back, man, and pick up our baby, you know what I'm saying? And we just gonna do a family thing.
God bless you, man. You deserve it. After 29 years, James, you deserve it. I'll talk to you. I'll call you. Call me or
Come to
text
this
me.
court, man. Give me a hug.
Give me a hug, man.
I do a lot of hugs.
Me too. Me too.
All right.
You don't have a card at all?
I don't have a business card. Thank you, Brandon. No, sweetie. I'll talk to you guys.
Well, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
So what do we have on?
I know, ma'am. I don't have a card, but if you go to Disorderly Product News,
She's got it. She's going to tell.
she'll text it to you.
I'm a
Yeah.
volunteer chaplain for 23 years.
You're a volunteer chaplain?
23 years.
Okay.
That's how come I know.
And you're part of the group, right?
Yeah.
You know, man, keep the
So
word
there you
out,
guys go.
and so when he go back to court,
That's Mark right there. He's in charge of the Inglewood Torture Center. They built a torture center in Inglewood on the south side of Chicago. He's in charge of it. He was convicted of 4 homicides and an arson when he was 16 years old. Mark, stay up, buddy.
okay, always, man.
My man Mark.
Always.
That's Mark. He's in charge of the Inglewood Torture Center. How can they get in touch with you if they want to call or talk to or learn about that program,
Well,
donate
they
to
can
that program?
contact, me at 773-587-4687. My name is Mark. As the brother described, I work for the Chicago Torture Justice Center. We support and rally around cases where that men and women have been tortured by crooked cops in the city of Chicago, primarily under John Burge.
Yeah, and so I was there and I talked to him. I have an interview with him. I had an interview with James. That'll be coming out. I just got to put it together and make sure. I mean, it might be the most important story I ever do, so I have to make sure I have all my ducks in a row and I explain it correctly, right? So
Yes.
you're doing a great thing, my man.
And thank you.
I'm gonna keep in contact with you. Remember, anytime I'll go there and I'll volunteer, and I'll teach people how to use phones in a defensive manner, not obviously, not to be. Sorry, I apologize. Not to be like obviously antagonistic, right? But to defend themselves. If
Right.
County Jail, right there is Surmac. Surmac is the hospital wing of the Cook County Jails. You see that sign right there? It says that is the largest single-site jail in the nation, housing over 10,000 men. There was a mass lawsuit a couple of years ago because people were sleeping on the ground. They were sleeping in the day room. They had rooms that were 2 people. They had 3, sometimes 4 people in there. They weren't big enough for 1 person. We had a lot of lawsuits. Towers. Some over here. These right here are the divisions. The men that stay. You can see the sign right here. Maximum security unit, Division 10. Maximum security. There you have it. Largest single-site jail in the nation. Believe me, that is hell on earth. Believe me, you do not want to be there. Hotel California.